amazing when the gods of live streaming get involved. It'll be amazing. Here we are. Phil is here. Jago's here. And who knows what they put in that 27-inch. Are we allowed to say that on a live stream? I don't know. Welcome, everybody. Don't even shake your head. It's Wednesday, and Wednesday the 21st of April, and here we are with two of my best friends in the whole world here, Caleb Pike and Ben Barden, and happy Wednesday to you, gentlemen. How are you?
Well,
thank you. Good. And yourself?
Caleb goes, well. That's his answer. Two
like
of my best friends in the whole world, and he's like, well, I don't know if I agree with that, but that's fine.
I am well.
Well, welcome, everybody. Good to see you both. Of course, we've been chatting for a few minutes prior to the show, as we always do. And we are just going to talk tech today. But before we do that, shall we have a drink? I think it is a drink in order. Caleb, then. Let's go, Caleb. Go. Let's go in. We're ready for you.
Oh, boy. Boring. Same brand, different beer.
Great Lakes.
A porter from Great Lakes. I'm really milking that variety pack I got. I just haven't been. I haven't been to drinking much. So I haven't been to Binny's in a long time. Do you guys have Binny's? Or at least,
no
Jem, do you have Binny's? No Binny's.
No Binny's here.
It's a magical place. Magical place. Pretty much
like
any. It's huge, and anything you would buy at like a normal place you would go to do your grocery shopping, prices are usually $10 to $20 cheaper on everything.
That's huge.
Amazing.
Nice.
Yeah, it's awesome. So, if you're looking for a 1.75 liter of something, you can save like $20 a pop.
A 1.75 liter of something.
Yeah.
I have a problem bottle size. Yeah.
Yeah, big old proper. Because normally we're $7.50. Yeah.
Yeah. When you're like me and you hate going out to shop and buy things, you stock up with the big bottles. And it's, you save money.
You do. It's interesting. In Oregon, one of the reasons we don't have that is everything is state regulated in Oregon. So each individual liquor store is independently owned, but it's all comes through the Oregon Liquor Commission, which is a bunch of BS. So it's exactly the opposite of California. In California, a Pappy Van Winkle, whiskey can come to market. And when it comes to market, if the street price is $100, California can sell that bottle for $1,000 if they want. On the flip side of that, if a normal $50 bottle of liquor costs $50, California can sell it for $25 if they want it to be a loss leader and they want to sell it. In Oregon, you're kind of screwed and kind of not. If you want to buy a particular bottle of something during a calendar month, it will cost exactly the same price no matter what liquor store you go to in the state. And if there's a sale on that bottle for $5 off, it has to be on sale for $5 off in every liquor store in the state of Oregon because it's state regulated. On the flip side of that, if that Pappy Van Winkle comes to market and you're in with your local liquor store and they're going to get 5 bottles, its street price is $100. They can't charge more than $100 for it. So if you get a bottle of that, it could be worth $1,000, $1,500. So that's kind of a weird thing. So totally. I mean, it's not like Pennsylvania. That's a whole other story. But yes. Yeah.
I hate when stuff, local governments and state governments start messing around with
that never happens.
The market.
With people. Okay, here we go.
For once, I can say Illinois is like that, not like that at all.
No, it's not. And that's why we don't have a Total Wine and More in Oregon. And then I have to wait until I go to Vegas with you guys. Ben, what are you drinking today? Tell us what you got.
I'm on rum. I bought this bottle because I was expecting lots of people to turn up at my door for Easter. I told you about the thing. They come around with their whips and they want to spank my wife, and then I have to give them rum. We talked about that, right? Anyway,
sounds like a terrible exchange.
So this is what I'm drinking, which is actually.
I can't even believe you just said that, but okay. That, I'm definitely not monetized on this one. Okay, go ahead.
I didn't use any rude words. Anyway, the whole thing, it's an all right bottle of rum. I had no idea what it was when I bought it, and apparently it's Slovak, well known for their rum and sugarcane growing industry. No, it's all obviously.
Jago says,
packaged
"Tell
from
us
something
about the
else. It's pretty
spanking."
Have I not told you about the spanking? We talked
Yes,
about
you
this
have.
in the Easter episode.
Yeah,
Go back
yeah, it was
to
like
it,
episode 27 or something. Who knows? Don't
Yeah.
go look for it. Okay, well, I'm
Okay.
between two today. I'm kind of torn. I'm gonna go. This is 291, which is a Colorado bourbon whiskey, which is actually very excellent. And it's like Boy Scout merit badges are going to TGI Fridays here with the amount of
Yes.
things they have on here. It's ridiculous. Or I'm gonna go expensive and just have a dram of the Glendronach 18, which is pretty nice. I've been holding on to this
I
for
think
a
you
long
should
time.
mix them. It sounds like a perfect pairing.
I'm not mixing anything with this particular thing. So
I
which one am
know.
I having? Tell me if I'm having the
Determine.
bourbon or the scotch, everybody. And
You
that's
gotta
what
go
I'll...
Scotch, man. You can't be waving
All right,
around
fine.
a fancy, nice bottle of Scotch.
All right, fine. All right, let's do it.
Exactly.
Okay. There we go. All right, everybody.
Boy
Let me
Scout
just put
bourbon needs to take a break.
It's a delicious bourbon, by the way. Oh, I just put way too much water in there for nice
I put
bottle.
more
Put more whiskey
Scotch
in.
in.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah,
All right, gentlemen.
I want to
To,
see that.
Till
yeah.
April 21st. There we go. Ta-ba-ta.
Cheers.
Drink up. Cheers,
Nice
everybody.
Cheers.
So just a nice hello to 360 grad, Jago, David, Sam, Oliver. David, thanks for being part of the whole thing last week. Gee whiz, 5150. I'll say thank you to you because you give. And I would say based on the amount that this bottle of scotch costs, which is a present not this Christmas but the year before, last week's super chat probably paid for this dram, and I very much appreciate that. We all do. Binny's is my home away from home, Bill says. So Bill has been to
Nice.
Binny's. Cody, Desmond, there we go. Phil, we already said hi. Awesome. And David's here. So, what are we talking about, kids? Caleb, what should we talk about first? Gears.
Well,
Gears and tech.
If we find ourselves, let me actually open up this browser and head over to News Shooter. There's a couple interesting new things. Last week we had talking about a drone.
Yep.
And what else? What else had come out?
This was the drone we were talking about last week.
Oh, look at
fancy
you!
pants. Oh.
Tell us.
Oh,
talk to
Mr.
us.
So it's the Mavic Air 2S, which is very good. My first drone. So I spent most of the last week getting licensed and doing all that training. And I got all my papers through this evening. So that's all sorted, which covers me for the whole of the EU, which is great.
Wow.
It's quite light. It's below 0.9 of a kilo, which here in Czech airspace means that I can fly really close to airports. If you stay below any structures in the area, so sort of chimneys, roof height to the tallest buildings, you can fly a drone lighter than 0.9 kilos. In loads of places that you couldn't fly the Mavic 2 Pro because it's just over. So it's good. So it's been quite interesting, all of that, getting registered, working out the training. Did the training in Ireland, registered as a drone operator here because it's all EU, it all works. And yeah, that's been the big. Yeah,
Can I ask you a question about that? And this is sort of a global question for the chat and everybody. I do find it a little bit odd, and I've never actually thought about this until you just started, again, rolling off the weight restrictions and what you can and can't do. Is there any freaking difference between a drone that's this big and how much damage and what it can do? It's still the freaking tiny little drone. What is the deal with it's an ounce over and that's the breaking point? I mean, you would think, like, is there really rhyme or reason to where those weights fall, or are they just completely arbitrary? Because I don't get it.
It's all to do with weight and then the speed. So it's a combination of that and the speed that things can fly as to how many joules of energy the thing is going to impact or potentially could impact somebody. So then it's all onto. Ooh, I've gone.
Ooh.
I've not
Oh,
gone.
dear.
Ooh.
Lights on.
Fancy pants, huh?
How weird.
Cloaking device on your drone over
Yeah,
there.
nice. So it's
coming back,
to do
aren't
with
you?
that. So I am coming back. So you have all the different categories of the. There's this new system in Europe whereby things are designated in this open category, which is relatively easy to get qualified in, and there's 3 sort of subsections within that. So the lighter the drone, the closer to uninvolved people you can get. And with the really light drones like the Mavic Mini, you essentially can do what you want with it, and then it kind of goes out in distance as you go back or go up in weight. It's a good system in that it's very it's simple and it's unified across the whole block. So that's great, and that's why I've held off doing this until now, is because these rules came in 1st of January. And then it's just waiting for drones to come out that were into the right weight categories that had a sufficiently decent imaging system to warrant purchasing, which this is the first one that I think does. So
Copy
that's interesting. Unfortunately, the UK, where I'm going next week, so I may not be here next week because I'm probably going to be on a boat heading to the UK. They, of course, left the EU, and they also left the EASA, which is the European Aviation Authority, the equivalent of your FAA. Bizarrely, because as far as I was concerned, they were staying in that, even with Brexit happening, which means that although they have a completely same framework for the new drone laws, because they adopted them on the same date as the EU, they're all exactly the same. My qualification doesn't cover me for the UK.
Oh, man.
Poppycock.
It's exactly the same. So I have to do the exact same. I have to go and pay a training provider to do the exact course that I've just done, which is not just an online self. Well, it is online, but it's not just self-learning. You actually have to sit in a seminar with someone with a camera on you for 5 hours, which is good. It was interesting the first time. It won't be so much the second.
Gotta love Brexit. Lovely. Lovely.
Yeah. So there you go.
You always got Jago, so you'll be all right. There you go. So, a lot of chatter about tripods and tripod systems here in the chat. People asking about different combinations. I think, is it Phil who started this mess? He said, has anyone used the new Sockler Active 8 or 10? Thoughts? I have not. I know that New Shooter really likes it. And obviously the Flowtech legs are pretty innovative. I haven't compared them to the Miller or the other older Sockler heads. I've always been a pretty big fan of the FSB 8 and the FSB 10, but I tend to lean towards Miller heads, and all of my heads right now are Miller. I love the DS10 for smaller cameras. I have it right there, right there, turned around. And I have CX heads, and I really like them a lot. But I think that both companies are making great products. I think that Sockler is being a little more innovative in terms of what they're doing with their fluid head and stick design. But there are good sticks from Miller. I just don't think that they are necessarily as good as the Flowtechs, And I think somebody mentioned in here that they combine a Miller head with Sockler legs, Colin. I think that's a great combo to do Flowtech with that. But I'd love to get my hands on those other heads and try them at least. For me right now is when you bump up to that price point where you're going to make an investment into a head that costs, or a system that costs somewhere in the $2,500 to $5,000 US range, you really want something that you can use with a lot of different camera configurations. And I think it's that total weight capacity and where your camera sits and you rig it out that really is the difference between, are you going to be able to use that day in and day out for lots of things, or is it a very particular configuration? Because if they say it's a certain weight capacity, that's like centered low to the head. It's not like you're building up the head, you know, and your camera's sitting up here on rods and everything else, and so you really have to, you know that when you're getting into these things. But it's good stuff out there. And speaking of Sockler, which is a Vitek brand, you know, Vitek seems to be going out on the little buying spree again, and they kind of a left field acquisition was Lightstream for about $21 million, and that's what we were using.
You're
without
joking, 21 million?
I think it's 21 million that they bought it for. So those boys are happy.
Night.
Good for them.
I would have max $500.
Couple of mil. No, for Vitek, they can't buy anything for less than $2 million. Yeah.
Jeez.
And then the big one, which I think is a big deal, because, you know, what do they have? Like 17 tripod brands underneath the Vitek umbrella. It's really 3, but, you know, it seems like that. Is they finally made a play into another lighting company, and they've acquired Quasar Science, which I actually think, for a company like them, makes a lot of sense. You know? The question now is, you know, if you know who Quasar is, kind of like Astera, they're really primarily known for their tube-based lighting and that style of lighting, which of course complements what Light Panels is doing. But are either of those companies going to go down the road of doing stuff that's more along the lines of Aperture and those companies? Boys, any feelings on that?
Will they?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a tricky one. I feel like some companies, when they're purchased by them, by a big group, like Small HD, start to go nuts. Like Small HD started making tons of monitors. But there's other brands, like, I feel like Wooden Camera didn't change too much.
Yep.
Trying to think of other companies.
Well, those are creative solution brands. You had Teradek and the other one, I can't believe I've gone blank.
Oh, Creative Solutions, that's not Vitek?
Well, it is, but it's sort of it's sort of their little autonomous group. So you've got Wooden Camera in there. You've got Teradek. There was the other one that did wireless. Who are they? It was Teradek and the other company were together, and then it basically just got all taken over by Teradek. And then the other brand under there is Small HD.
Small HD.
And
yeah.
And I don't know if is Quasar under Creative Services? I think it is. But that's their kind of like, you know, they kind of let them run as their own group, but they kind of don't. So I don't know. I'd like to see whether or not they go into those bigger, higher output, quote unquote, single source lighting solutions. Because of course that's not what we really think of light panels.
Make their stinking bulbs again.
You're talking about Quasar?
Yeah.
Yeah. Their bulbs are great.
It's so hard to find those bulbs. Like they used to make a full lineup. Any bulb base, any bulb type, any filament type, you could buy it. Different temperatures, and now they're down to like one bulb. Yeah. Super annoying.
And they were great. And it's really, who is it that's making bulbs now? They are, but not enough of them. I think Astera has smart, you know, kind of like RGB bulbs, and then you have Aperture. And there's still room for options there. We were talking about it a few weeks ago.
No one else made like nice looking filament bulbs. I actually want to buy them for my house. Yeah. It's hard to find good LED candelabras that are reliable. Yeah. So, shame. Yeah. It's interesting looking at their stock, actually. Took a big old dump, of course, like everything did.
Who's did? Vitek's?
Vitek, yeah. I guess they're publicly traded.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if it's a good move. I think Quasar's not a bad move for them if they allow them to innovate. Of the two, that makes sense. I don't know if buying Lightstream makes a lot of sense, though I understand why. But historically, Vitek is really primarily a hardware-based company, except for their prompter solutions. But the prompter solutions also include hardware. So they're kind of combining those two things, and I really think that if I were if I were looking at an acquisition for them, Lightstream doesn't seem to make a lot of sense to me. And it's not like Lightstream is the household name. Not that Ecamm is either, but it just, that seems like an odd acquisition to me. So I don't know. Small Brand Fox is here. Look at that.
Welcome.
Where's Grumpy Penguin? Jeez.
I haven't seen him in a long time. I'm getting a little worried.
I know. He's working on those cars. Somebody go find him. Got to see him.
Shiznut's too. Haven't seen him in a few.
Yeah, what's up with that? Yeah. We got G Wiz 5150.
Yep.
But yeah, there you go. Travis, thanks for coming by again. Appreciate it. Yeah, so there's some questions about directors' viewfinders and using them as apps. I find them to be somewhat useful. I will say this, and this is just me talking. I think that it's been, in the last couple of years, far more advantageous for me to have a zoom lens on a small mirrorless camera with a microphone or a wireless system when I'm going to scout than it is to have a phone. I know the advantage, I get it, but I just feel that I make decisions more quickly in terms of what I'm trying to do if I have an actual camera with me, because you're taking photos that are actually at that depth of field. You're not just looking at field of view, and I prefer to do it that way now. I think they're great to have, but it's not like having Sunseeker or something where you're really trying to figure out, where light's going to be. So I think that's far more advantageous for scouting personally. And most of us have some sort of camera, even if it's not the best camera with a zoom lens on it that is larger sensor. Boys, any feelings on that at all? I don't know. Director's viewfinder apps, do you use them still?
Right.
Or?
No,
I don't really location scout, but yeah, cameras are so small now. Why not?
Yeah.
Same as you. It's phone for Sunfinder apps, all that kind of stuff. And also just working out using Google Earth Pro is really useful for that stuff as well, for working out where sun position's going to, not just where is the sun, but where are the shadows going to be falling, because it has the relief information within it. So it's showing where that mountain is blocking sun at a particular time of day, shadow information. So that, and the same as you, I'm just taking a mirrorless camera, and because all of that is baking in metadata, when I go back and look through, I can see what focal length I was shooting at if I need to. But to be honest, I'm not, for the stuff I do, I'm not particularly looking at really framing stuff up to that level of detail on a scout. I'm more just seeing the general picture, audio levels particularly.
Yep.
Light,
yeah.
sun position.
It just seems more work than it's worth necessarily to then say, okay, well, there's my field of view. I've got to think about that. I mean, it's not hard, but I just feel that the phone for me becomes a great tool when I'm in a space and I want to remember it, or there's something I'm inspired by compositionally. That type of stuff is great. But if I'm going out on the scout, I'm going out on a scout. So just grab a camera, throw something in the bag with an 18 to 55 on it. I'm probably going to cover that core range of whatever I would be shooting, anyway. And then I can usually think with a longer focal length if I need to. It's not like I'm going to do a lens swap, 24 to 105 on a full frame camera. That'll cover most of the stuff that you're going to do. So that's basically the deal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
You know what the big news is, though, guys? The huge news.
I'm ready.
Just saw the article on New Shooter.
Easter.
SlidePod Pro.
Slide Pro.
Yeah, I saw that.
Unbelievable.
Just kidding. Not knocking it. I just thought that'd be funny.
Well, you kind of are, but that's okay.
The longer version, isn't it? That's the difference. It's longer.
Longer, stronger, more weight.
That's what they all say. Longer,
360.
stronger, more weight. That's what they say. I've never heard that before. Let's go back to that 27-inch iMac. Okay, so speaking of that, Apple made some announcements. Are we kind of interested in the new iPad Pro, and the new iMac? Is it strange that they're all in colors?
Apple tags. It's the most
Apple
exciting
tags. $25 a pair.
All the things.
I mean, $25 a pop as a 4-pack, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
4 for
Hey,
99
$100.
bucks.
As someone who lost their car keys for 2 solid weeks earlier this year due to heavy snowfall and losing them on a walk
Oh,
and not being able to
snap.
find them until the snow melted, I'm quite interested in those. And I did buy something like a shitty,
The
cheaper
tiles.
version of. No, not the
Right.
tiles. I bought. I can't remember what it's called. I can't remember what the model's called. It sort of works, but not all the time. It's a bit of a weird thing.
Yeah.
So it links up via Bluetooth. So it'll tell you through the phone app where your keys, whatever, last were,
Right.
or not necessarily last were, but where it last saw them. And then it also has a thing where you can hit a button on the app and it rings the keys, but it also works in reverse that you can press the little tile thing on your keys and it will find your phone because it just starts ringing. But frequently, it says it's not connected, even though we're in quite close proximity. There's no reason for it not to find it. So I find it of limited use.
Can I ask you a question, Ben? Did you get the product that is it called tiles with 2 T's or tiles with 2 L's or tiles with 2 S's? Which version of the knockoff tiles did you get? I'm just trying to figure that out.
It's the version of tiles that's pronounced piccolo.
Piccolo.
I think.
Scott
I think so,
Balcom, you said, sorry I'm late. I wanted to let the ads roll completely. So we have 25 minutes of pre-roll on ads for our show now. This is amazing. I can't even believe it. No, come on. He's just taking the piss. Or maybe I am. Cody, best thing from the Apple event yesterday equals Ted Lasso Season 2 trailer. Agree. I didn't watch the Apple event, but I watched the trailer. I enjoyed it. It's a nice escape in the strange year. I'm not calling you out, Scott. Come on. You're kidding? Come on. How's Texas, by the way? Tell me how things are going. Road Connect app for NTG USB Mini was a nice announcement. Yeah. I like that they're continuing to do stuff. I do find, though, that the Video Mic NTG is never clean when you plug it in via USB. Like when you're charging and using it at the same time, I'm constantly getting a buzz with my mic. Maybe I need to do a firmware update, but that I found to be a pretty consistent problem with that. If it's unplugged, it's fine, but if I go in and I plug it in, it's sort of a 50-50 that a buzz will get introduced. I don't know if you hear a buzz right now. Maybe we get lucky, but I don't know what to say. Yeah. Yeah. And then last thing on the Blue Vein Piccolo Ben. I don't know what that means. Scott Balco, you do. So what I don't understand with the Apple event, with adding M1 to iPad Pro, why not just merge MacBook Air and iPad Pro? Yeah, it's a good question. I'm kind of a big part of it. Yes, money, but I also think there's an app issue there. If all the apps were available, it would be one thing. Because if they had, let's say, Capture One available for the iPad Pro and iPad Air, I'd probably be inclined to get one because I just want that to go around for photography. But I'm definitely more drawn to a MacBook Air for that reason, that the app is there and it's still small. And there's still something about working on a laptop as opposed to just a tablet that I prefer.
It's interesting because Microsoft went down that route with what they call the Surface line. Yeah, so they were still running full version of Windows, and you could use it in tablet mode, you could use it in PC mode, and that was quite interesting to me. And Apple again, I'm slightly surprised they never went down that route and always kept the iOS and Mac OS completely separate product. It'd be interesting though.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you too, Scott. I think that there is sort of an artificial OS thing going on between iOS and Mac OS now to a degree. We know that each time they come out with a new version, there's more and more integration between the two. Whether or not those ever get completely combined, I don't know. I doubt it, but we'll see what happens.
I can see where they totally will become the same thing. It's just they'll interface slightly differently. Like when it comes to Apple's apps, they're almost there, right?
Yeah.
Messages, mail, Final Cut, podcasts.
Well, not Final Cut.
iTunes.
Not Final Cut. Are they going to ever do
on
Final
the
Cut?
iPad Pro.
You can't do Final Cut on the iPad Pro, can you? Was that part of the announcement? Because what they did is they did.
I'm sorry. I'm mixing up with.
They did
Go ahead.
LumaFusion again. I think at the event.
Okay.
Which I think is really odd. I didn't watch the event. I just saw some screenshots and LumaFusion, which I haven't really used. If anybody has before, but it's kind of odd that Apple is pushing that instead of iMovie, which actually exists for the for the iOS devices. So they're clearly not invested in iMovie for that product. The same if they're going to feature a video editor that's not their own. I think that's kind of odd. It kind of says something about, don't you think, Caleb? It says something about Apple and whether or not they're really behind iMovie if they're using a third-party app in their thing. I don't know.
Yeah, that's weird.
Do you think they'll do Final Cut for iOS one day, Caleb?
Oh, I think of it. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I almost wonder why iMovie exists to an extent.
Yeah.
Like I'm jaded because I've been on Final Cut forever, since the beginning of time. So to me, it doesn't seem that intimidating. But I feel like it's not that intimidating,
Yeah.
So I could see where or they have like a mode or something where it's a little more straightforward. But I just find iMovie frustrating.
Yeah. Well, didn't
not
we
only
talk
because
about
of the
that?
lack of stuff, but I feel like it's sometimes tricky to like understand how to do basic stuff in it. Like I'm a professional opening the app and I'm like, where the heck would I find like a basic feature? I don't know.
Yeah.
Could just be I'm old. There he goes again.
There he goes. I don't know what's going on today.
Stop
What's
buying
happening?
wasabi batteries over there.
No, his audio's still there, unless his audio's being.
No,
fed
it's not the
separately.
camera.
It's the light
it's
again.
the batteries that I'm running the light off. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, tell me when you're back
I might
up,
have to-
because.
I'm going
Are
to
you
go
back
run and find a cable. Hold on.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think, Caleb, the thing for me is when I open up iMovie and I start going into it, I guess if you've never seen any other NLE, then you kind of just figure it out. But if you've used anything, including Final Cut, you get in there and you're like, oh, I want to adjust the audio a little bit. And then you want to do something, and it's so limiting in terms of what you can do. And it's kind of... if you're just starting out and you've never touched anything else, then I think that it can be okay. But I think you're right, and we've talked about it in the past. Why not just do a simple and advanced mode for Final Cut Pro?
Bring back Final Cut Express. Remember that? Obscenity.
Of course, I did a training series for Magnet Media on Final Cut Express 3.5 when it came out. And I totally remember that app, and I don't see why they couldn't do that.
Yeah, I bought it because I was too broke for Final Cut. Another copy of Final Cut.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Yep.
And then I realized it was 30p only, no 24.
So
all
frustrating.
those other random little things. I know, so dumb. Come on, Apple. Way to be
nowadays,
a cannon.
Unbelievable. The whole thing is so frustrating. Way to be a cannon. I mean, so I don't know. The whole LumaFusion thing seemed odd to me. And again, I didn't watch the keynote, but I just kind of feel like either just own iMovie on iOS or just get over it and put Final Cut onto the device.
And the only reason I say that is not because I expect, editors will want to edit on an iPad with their fingers tapping and dragging. But I think eventually the hardware will be cross-compatible, where you can chuck your iPad in the corner and it, plug it in or wirelessly, view it on your whatever display and then connect a mouse and keyboard and bam, because everything's coming together, right? You've got the same chips, you've got the same hardware, similar hardware. Eventually, they're going to finally have the same I/O. Everything will just be USB 4 and whatever going forward.
Yeah.
So I think it eventually will get there. And then maybe it just looks different, right? So your iPad, when you're running around tapping on it, has icons versus a desktop and whatnot.
Yeah, I don't. Why can't they do that? And then the other
Someday,
thing is
it'll happen.
now you also have Thunderbolt, and you have different support. So who's to say that you couldn't carry around your iPad Pro like you would in a Mac Mini, and just attach it to an external monitor, and you have a keyboard, and then you can function the same way you would if you were on a desktop. So I think they can absolutely do it. And then they do need to have a version where, when you're not doing that, you're using an Apple Pencil, as you brought up, Scott. Well, you could get Apple Pencil support on MacBooks, but even on an iPad, that Apple Pencil, and then having just a slightly different way that you're working. Obviously, LumaFusion's doing it. I just haven't spent enough time with it. So,
360 grad. I'm not sad, and I'm okay. But all my lights died, except for that little aperture bulb who's just hanging in there.
Hanging out.
Speaking of batteries,
it's very Pixar.
Yeah.
It's very Pixar, that light, by the way, in the background. It looks like Pixar is hanging out. I like it. I have no problem with that at all.
Cheapo painted light, and I'm a little sleepy because not sleeping. But that's yeah. But I'm not sad. I'm just kind of drowsy.
Chilling.
It doesn't help that all the lights are dead. It's dark in here. My body's like, ooh, it's nap time. Yes,
all right.
A cheaper cinema monitor would be great. I'd love for them to do, I don't know, just rip the guts out of that new iMac and sell it.
Yeah, why not? I mean, if the iMac
I'd buy cinema monitors if they were like $800, $1,200 for like 21 inches. I don't need like a 32-inch 8K, 6K HDR.
I agree.
What do you guys think of the iMacs? They look pretty. I have no interest in them because they're just M1s again. But
yeah,
they're cool.
Oh, when you say you've no interest in them because they're just M1s,
they're just the same as their other machines. They're different, but you know what I mean. They're not like a
right. There's nothing new.
MX, M something interesting.
Right.
Yeah. And I'm gonna
what
wait
I'm
for
expecting.
a while.
Yeah, I think the
I
next
have
MacBook
so
Pro
many
will be
apps and weird things.
Yeah.
That I'm not ready to risk switching my main machine over.
You think they'll do it? You think they'll do when the next MacBook Pro comes out? Do you think that'll be the M2 or whatever the next?
I don't know. I'm not a Apple, hardware channel, but I have a feeling like their next machine has to be something new.
Yeah.
Because they just copy and pasted. This is the first new fully original M1 machine, right? The Mini and the Air and the Pro were all like just kind of copies and pastes when it comes to hardware.
Yes.
External hardware.
Like design wise, like what they look
design.
like.
This is the first original M1 design or Apple chip design machine. So I think their next one they've got to do something.
I agree.
I don't know.
What was the thing that you? Oh yeah, they did. They leaked today for the new MacBook Pro 16, potentially MagSafe, 4 Thunderbolt, headphone jack, and an SD card slot. I heard maybe HDMI as well, and that's
that's ridiculous.
But why didn't they put a freaking SD card slot in the iMac? I mean, if you're talking about what should be in an iMac, it should be an SD card slot. Let's just be honest. SD cards are not going away. It's like some are CF Express, some are CF, some are this and that. SD cards are getting faster and faster. They're small. Are they reliable from build quality? No, but it's just
unless you go
whatever.
The Sony route. That's the one thing Sony's done that's interesting is instead of having, I don't have one here. Actually, I do.
You mean the tough ones?
Yeah, like on the back of an SD card, when you look at the little metal contacts, there's those little plastic slits. Those are the first things to break, like every time, and the lock.
Yeah, always.
Whereas Sony's done away with, I think, both of those, right? Don't they have it's more like a PCB chip or something.
Yep. Yeah, the contacts have to be there. They're just protected more, and it's a beefier design. They are small, so they're very easy to lose. But all I'm
they don't
saying
have
is,
those things.
I'm not supporting SD cards as the ideal thing.
Right.
It's like supporting HDMI as the connection for cameras. They both suck in many ways, but they're not going anywhere. So you're not making a mistake by putting an updated HDMI port and an SD card slot into your computer right now. There's no downside to that, in my opinion.
No, I did see a contact of mine who is an Apple reseller and very knowledgeable and a good guy. But he was arguing the case, because he is a bit of an Apple fanboy, but arguing the case of why they haven't put it in. Someone was saying, well, this really is still the main case. So no, like professional cameras, they're not using SD cards. Well, yes, they are. There's still a huge amount of content that's being created on SD.
Yeah.
Across huge numbers of platforms, not just for filmmaking, for photography, audio, everything. It's still the main card format.
Well, if they were like a professional mainstream thing, then they would have CFast readers in their computers, right?
Yeah, but the problem with that is there's no
by
standard.
Far the number one media standard.
By far.
Easily.
Yeah. But even when we're talking about phones in the Android world, again, we're talking about micro SD, which are then adapting up straight into SD. So I
just think it's psycho that right now, and by the way, 360 grad, there is no SD card slot in that new iMac. Like, how would you not put an SD card? It's not a space or real estate issue to put an SD card slot in that.
No, do you not think the whole thing now is just like, no, we've decided this is the way we're going. We're going minimal. All we're having is USB-C on everything. That's it. I would be honestly surprised if they rolled back to putting that stuff back into any machines.
Me too.
I think
you can't go this long without an SD card and then just put it back in.
And then go,
I'll be shocked.
Saying, no, sorry, you were all right. We're not the visionaries we thought we were. No, that's not going to be what happens.
You got to remember, this is the company that when the Home Pod came out with the speaker or whatever it's called, the Amazon Alexa version from Apple.
Yeah.
That's a nice speaker. People were having all kinds of horrible issues when they set it on metal tops, like metal surfaces. So if you had like a chrome metal table, you put it on there, it was terrible. The sound, all kinds of technical issues. Apple's response was, don't put it on metal surfaces then.
Of course. Yeah, that's their answer.
Avoid metal surfaces. Put it on something wood. Like, that was not like, oh, snap, sorry, so sorry, we certain whatever. It's just like, then don't do that anymore.
I know. And then what they do is they put an Ethernet port in the power adapter. I mean, it's like, that's their way of getting around not putting something into the actual hardware itself. They put it into the power adapter. Did you see that? The Ethernet,
which is ridiculous, because like if you talk to any networking person, like my dad, probably is losing his mind over this. The number one rule with running Ethernet is don't put it or cross it with power.
Yeah, it's insane.
Don't put it near or cross it with power. And what do? They put it in the power supply brick. It's amazing.
Yeah.
But
all right, enough airtime for Apple. Let's get down to some filmmaking stuff over here. So you brought up some lenses, Caleb, earlier on that's on News Shooter, but kind of odd from this company because we got some cinema lenses, and what's the deal with those? And happy
psycho.
for you to
Me
share.
and Ben were talking about this before. It's insane.
It's the most random set of lenses.
You can't even really call it a set. So I'll screen share here.
No.
So it's zyoptics.net. They have four, and I found this through News Shooter. 4 lens set, but it's not really a lens set. So
no, because you can get a 3 lens set in one mount or some crap like that. What's the deal?
Yeah, so first and foremost, down here, go ahead, Ben.
Sorry.
I was going to say, if you go to like the whole range thing in the product tab there's like this set of lenses, and he goes, oh, okay, there's a 17. Here we go, a 25, a 35, and then a
Feeling
50.
good. Yeah, that's nice.
And you go, well, that's a nice little set. Okay, we took look at that. And then when you go into those individual lenses, everything falls apart because.
And
look at the top.
Oops.
Yeah.
First of all, let's go to focal length. Well, there's a set. I don't know why that's in that list. Like, what does that mean? Focal length M43 set.
Yeah, and what mounts it in? MFT only. Top.
Yep.
For the 17. Okay.
And what balls they have to call them Speedmasters, but that's a whole other thing. Go ahead. I'm ready.
Yeah, right. 25 mil. Oh, boy. Oh, my goodness. Look at that price. First of all, look at that range.
Yeah, that's
You
odd.
can double the lens somehow? Oh,
no, surely that's for the set. That's for the drop down. That's for the set.
25.
That's 17, 25, 35
Again, we're
set.
under mount, folks. We're looking at the mount. The mount is 25 millimeter or the whole thing. Someone messed up the Google Translator.
Oh my
so again,
God.
the 25 is micro four thirds only, but you don't find that anywhere here until you go down
It's
to
on the
specs.
top. Yeah.
Oh,
Hold on, guys.
too?
Give me 1 second.
It's on
We
the
gotta
top as
we gotta
well,
pop
yeah.
this up. G-Wiz is heading out. We get a beautiful Australian $14.99.
Oh,
Love you, man.
Gee-whiz.
Great.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much. Have a good day at work.
Enjoy work. Yeah. Be safe, and we'll see you next time. Thanks so much. This is bonkers with these.
Yeah, so that's now we're at the 25, which it is cool. These are all T1. Keep in mind, which is pretty sick.
Yeah.
At any
And
rate,
up to this point, when you're looking at this, you're thinking these are like a cheaper version of those. What were they called? Those beautiful
Mikey?
little.
Yeah, no. Look,
No.
Scott says these are clones of the Mikey, which are clones themselves. So that's very
Right.
Inception. Yeah, so they're like clones of clones.
Yeah. So
What's
this
the
really
other-
nice little super fast prime. Oh, what were they called? They're really nice. They don't make them anymore because they're what are they called?
oh, the Vedras.
The Vedras, right? So this is why I
Yes.
think this is like a budget Vedras. This is really nice. You're thinking, well, all right, so we've got those first two lenses, the 17, the 25. These are micro four thirds only. This makes sense to some degree. And then we go to the 35, and then everything gets massively confusing because. So now we have all of
Oh,
a
we get
sudden
lots of mounts.
mount.
Ooh. Wait, Fujifilm FX mount? I thought it was the Fujifilm X
Whoops.
mount. We have an FX mount? That's a new... It's a new
that's-
mount.
Is that what's
Jen,
like Fuji
well,
X?
They have under mounts the focal length, so I don't have a lot of faith that FX is accurate. But anyway,
Yeah,
so we've
Scott-
got RF.
Scott, absolutely, you're right. Yeah, even though they're a T1 doesn't mean you can use them at T1.
Oh, I'm
Granted.
coming in hot with the audio, David. Yeah, that's the way I like it. I like to come in hot with the audio. Give me a second. I'll make a little change.
The plot continues to thicken here. So this lens has everything: RF, FE, FX, micro four thirds, or the set, I guess.
But Caleb, if
Go
you
ahead,
scroll
Ben.
down, does it actually give
Yeah.
the coverage in the spec? Like, does it cover a full? No, it's saying Super
Ooh.
35, so they're not full frame.
Yep, there it is.
There we go.
So you can put it on a Canon RF mount, but it's not going to cover the full frame sensor. Interesting.
All right, so you've got that.
All right.
And then to make things even more confusing, that's the 35 we just looked at. You go to the 50, and surely you're like, oh, okay, so 50 millimeter length. And then what? Gone
That's
are all the fun
ridiculous.
mounts, and you're back to EF or of all
or
things.
positive locking Harry.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Just randomly
So
out of the
confusing.
blue.
Now we do have to keep in mind this is the company that makes, where is it? They have some interesting lenses. Oh, here we go, Speedmaster again. Other Speedmasters. But they make when I think of this company, I think of like weird stuff like this. Just like weird, super soft C mount level quality,
Yeah.
crappy little lenses. But you
Yeah.
never know. You never know when one of these will become the next,
But-
Venus Optics.
But just what a bizarre thing.
It is.
Because if you're going to buy something like that, because they're cheap, but they're not pocket change cheap.
Right.
It's still a considered thing to be buying, $500-$600, whatever they are each. But to not be able to put a set together of those, which you can't,
Unless you have a GH6 or something.
Yep.
right?
This
But
is
even then,
interesting.
you can't use the 50. Okay, so which is what got us onto this in the first place.
It is
Right.
because I have a 56-1.2 lens for my Fuji cameras, and this is the TT Artisan's lens, which is a 1.2. It's a manual lens. It was $98 US. It's all metal construction. The first one I got was a little crunchy on the focus ring, so I just it was Amazon, so I said I'll get a different copy, and then when I got the different copy, I compared them. They were actually basically the same. It's a little soft at 1.2. When you stop down to about a 2, you're starting to get pretty dang sharp. It's got a nice look. I mean, for $98, it's not the 56-1.2, but it's pretty amazing right now. But I think you have to realize that if you're going to invest in a $98 lens, you might have to be willing to get it and say, I'm going to get a bad copy. And say, I'm either going to embrace this for the look, or I'll send it back and I'll get another one and see if I get a better copy. So it's a little bit of a, chance. But at $98, it's fine. But when you're spending even $450 to $1,100, then you have to start thinking about it a little bit more.
So
probably.
which mounts do they produce those in?
That's a good question. Can somebody look? I mean, this is X mount, but I know they make it in other. I think they have E mount. It's the TT Artisan, and it's the 51.2. So it's an APS-C. So I'm sure, I once told you 360 had to get a Sekonic light meter to get, but I've lost my note. Sorry to bother you, but could you tell me one last time which Sekonic light meter to get? Oh yeah, give me a second on that.
While Jem's looking that up, I think unless you have RF or EF, if you have a modern mirrorless that isn't RF, I think the better option is these SLR Magic Micro Primes. These guys here, they're a little more, but there's been a lot of people reviewing them and really
that's a real set.
Them.
And that's E mount.
Yeah, this
and
is
then what other mounts
15,
they make
25, 50, 75. Micro Four Thirds X. If you go to X, I don't know if you get the full set, but here we go. So these are, I believe, full frame as well. Not these ones. These are X.
Nice.
Let's go E. Come on, baby. Don't fail me now, B&H.
Yep. And 360 grad, tell me how much you want to spend on your light meter. I mean, yeah. That's the question.
Yeah, full frame sensor coverage. So those are nice.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to go all out on if you want to go all out 360 grad on an incident light meter, then the prices have dropped. You just go with the 858, and that's about $599. And the advantage to that is it's not only an incident meter, it's a 1 degree spot meter. So if you're taking readings on things that are far away, or you want to see what the differences are, in terms of your range, then that's the meter to get. The 478 is the other one.
That's doing color temperature as well, right?
No, it's not. No, when you go Sekonic, you're in a whole other realm where you have to get a separate color meter and a separate light meter. So the one that
they don't do a combined at all. I have the same Sekonic light meter that I've used since the very first day I started working doing photography for a living. The very first day I inherited a load of gear. One of it was a Taconic incident and spot meter, and I still use it. It's still great, but obviously no color. And I assume that all
No
new ones
color.
would do both.
No, you've got to
Mhm.
get like an 800, and that has all the chips, and nobody's going to give you a color meter right now that's going to give you more information than Sekonic, but it's strictly a color meter. So, and it's a huge investment. It's like $1,200 US. I mean, if you're looking for if you're iOS based, then the Lumu is definitely a good option. Inexpensive, as accurate as Sekonic, not right there. As much information, because it's app based, probably not, but that's an incident meter there. And on this side is a color meter. And it is designed to read LEDs and fluorescent fixtures and stuff. So the Lumu is a great cost effective in your pocket if you're an iOS person. But if you're looking for an incident light meter, I'd say the 478. But if you really want to go all out and say, I want a professional light meter, then the 858 is the way to go. But you're going to drop $600. But then you're going to have an incident and a spot meter. I don't know if that's really necessary for everybody. The truth is that having a color meter is probably as advantageous now as having a straight light meter. I mean, the light meter's job is to help you light for ratios. It's a three-dimensional tool to go in and say, let me go ahead and read light in a space here and here, whether it's artificial fixtures or it's, natural light or it's practicals that are already there. It helps you figure out what stops you want to light certain things at. And I think it's more relevant, 360 grad, for somebody who's shooting a lot of narrative stuff, because you'll say, okay, the antagonist or the protagonist or whoever the actors are in a thing, we're always going to light somebody at a 2:8 with a 4:1 ratio, and we want the background to be 2 stops different. So that's where light meters really come in handy, because you go into a space and you start lighting the space without any actors, and you can walk around with the meter and you can take a reading here, you can take a reading in the background, and you can match your ratios to the different scenes that you're shooting in a narrative. If you're really just shooting, documentary style and you're shooting things like that, I don't know if there's a huge advantage to having the light meter. But I think if you're shooting narrative and you have to have repetitive ratios of lighting, that's really where light meters come in handy in a big way nowadays. Look at if you have scopes on set, scopes are not three-dimensional. They just give you luminance values based on what they're seeing within your frame. They don't tell you how far away or how close those values are in terms of things. So you're not really getting ratio information. I hope that makes sense. There you go.
Good.
That's all I got. All right.
Caleb's gone on max
So I was
heavy.
muted there. I was going to say I have my mic muted. I was going to say, though, a good, trustworthy monitor with false color and a couple podcast episodes of Wandering DP will have you figuring out some ratio stuff from a different perspective. Like you said, it's not the same because you don't have, depth, distance, all of that. But it is, I think, a more budget-friendly way to figure that stuff out, more visual way.
Yeah.
If you're kind of a new age hipster kid, millennial.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on what kind of content you're shooting. I mean, Wandering DP is fantastic. I think he's a great cinematographer. He has great knowledge. And again, light meters are great for repeatability and ratios. That's what they're great for. And beyond that, it's knowledge and, learning your camera and trusting your monitor. And that's what a lot of DPs do nowadays. They'll have a camera system and they understand how that reacts and how far they can push and pull their image in post-production, and that's also important. And it's not like I'm using a light meter all the time. I use that little Lumu a lot when I want to match lights and get them to the right color temperature. I think I'm using that a lot more for that reason than anything else. And it's about as cheap as you can get for a relatively reliable color meter for that kind of stuff.
And have they still not brought out an Android version of that? I remember speaking to them at NAB ages ago, and they were, yeah, it's coming. But I don't think I've ever seen it.
It is coming?
What?
A donation
ready.
from David.
I was about to say, there he is. And look, it's got lots of zeros. Not zeros. Well, it could. It has no zeros. It has lots of O's for booze. Don't listen to me. I don't know what I'm talking. Here, let's give him another one here. Let's get the
Give
Shining.
him no more booze.
Give you no more booze. Watch yourself. 4:00 Pacific time. Bunch of cheeky people. All right. I don't know if we actually accomplished anything today, but thank you, David. I really appreciate it and being part of the show. I don't think we're doing a challenge next week based on the fact that Ben's not going to be here. So I think it's going to be a Q&A with Caleb and I, even though I just thought of that. But I think that 2 weeks from now, are you going to be back, Ben, then? Or not?
No, I'm going to be in the UK for a few weeks, actually. So this will be for the first time in a long time coming from my mum's living room.
Ooh,
We haven't done that.
I like that.
We haven't done that for a long time, have we? So that'll be
Should
great.
we do a challenge again or not, Caleb? 2 weeks from now?
I would say it's up to Ben. If he's going to be traveling and working, he might not be for it.
So let me explain how the travel situation is. So next Wednesday morning at stupid o'clock in the morning, I leave from here. I drive to Amsterdam. I get on a boat in Amsterdam. It goes to Newcastle. I go from Newcastle. I go to my mum's house. I then sit in my mum's house for 7 full days in quarantine before I'm allowed to go to work.
Perfect.
If there's a challenge, I have time to work on stuff.
Okay.
What are you going to do for 7 days in your mom's house? That's what I want to know.
And my mum lives in the middle of nowhere. Not that it makes any difference, because if you're stuck in quarantine, you're stuck in quarantine. It doesn't matter if you're in the town or the
just going to sleep.
Actually, better where she is, because she's got an amazing, huge garden. So she's going to, put me to work gardening, I think. And I'll fly my drone about. I'll do my UK version of what I've done for the Euro version this week. I'll do that week as well. Yeah, I'll kill a week. It's all right. It's not that long.
Caleb, would you be down for going to Shot Deck and finding an image and sending it to me within the next 3
hang on.
days?
If we're talking, but bearing in mind, if we're talking that kind of challenge, I can't leave that house.
It's fine.
So
no problem. No, it's okay.
Okay.
We'll get it. Okay.
I'll line up a couple. You can say that's impossible or that's possible.
Yeah.
Or do you just want to do something else that week, Ben?
Yes. And let's say.
No, I'm.
Yeah.
I'm
going to set some parameters.
Okay.
They're very simple. Okay. The parameters are longer focal length frame. Okay, because that will give a little bit more flexibility for somebody like you, Ben, who's going to be in an interior space, and that's
I've got a big garden I can do stuff in as well. Just
but longer. I say longer focal length because if it's very architectural, then it's going to be very limiting, and so I think we'll go longer focal length, and send something over to both of us, Caleb, and then what I'll do is I'll do some social posts to everybody here on the chat at the live stream, and I'll post what the image is, and then also where you can submit your submissions. Does that sound good?
Cool.
In 2 weeks from now.
Small brown fox.
Great.
Small brown fox. It's not 2 and 8 because I need to get out early. It's 2 and 5 and 8 for the test, and it's more than 210 quid. It's 280.
Wait, you have to do the test even though you've been vaccinated?
Even though I'm fully vaccinated, I have to do a test on day 2 and day 8. Everyone does. Normally, you have to spend 10 days in quarantine, but you can do an additional test on day 5, which you can then get out of quarantine, but you still have to do the test on day 8. And the test on day 5 doesn't come. The results don't come back until the end of day 6. So you're really 7 days in quarantine.
My head hurts. I'm going to throw up right now. That's
honestly
way too much information.
This is what I've been dealing with. This plus Brexit stuff at the moment. It's just.
Yeah. Caleb needs to get home. You need to go to bed. Love everybody, and see you next week. Caleb, you and I will be doing a fireside chat with each other. You'll have a little bit more light. Maybe I'll have a little less light. And next week, we will introduce to everybody what the official challenge is going to be for 2 weeks from tonight. Now, that's actually great. We'll all agree in the next few days, and then we'll lay it out to everybody, and then we'll just talk. And I don't know what's going about a bed and a lady and breaking legs, but 360 grad, I don't even want to read that at the end because it could be really, really bad for me to say that out loud. Film Kit, thank you. David, I don't know. Yes, Pat, you have to be in it. Let's go.
Called Misery, the film you're talking about.
Oh, I don't know what's going on. Everybody, All the best. You're amazing. Take care.
Thanks for watching.
Behave
Hanging out, guys.
yourselves or not.
Yeah.
See ya. Bye, everybody.